Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 33 of Wind Down Wednesday. Okay, I got really nervous again tonight, which is what happened to me last week. So I think this is going to be another really good episode. And if you didn't see last week, I highly encourage you to watch it. It was a very vulnerable episode for me, but it really opened up a lot of things and it opened up the space that we're going to talk about tonight. And I will recap just a little bit, just in case you weren't here for last week. But I'm going to start tonight by calling out the spiritual community a little bit for focusing sometimes exclusively on light, on the positive part of spirituality. And absolutely, this is part of the work. This is a wonderful part of the work. It's the joyful part of the work, which is probably why so many people focus so much on it. But walking a spiritual path is not all kittens and rainbows, as I said earlier today to somebody. When I thought about what to title this episode, there's a lot of words that came in, and finally I settled on transformation. But I was talking to a friend and I was like, I might as well just call this When Spiritual Work Really Sucks, because that's kind of what we're going to talk about tonight. But sometimes it does. Sometimes this work is hard, and without darkness, we don't have light. You know, we live in a duality. We live in this physical universe where the only way we know one thing is to understand the opposite of it. Things are sort of defined by their opposite. And we need to talk more about our shadow or our darkness, or what I sometimes call the back body, and I'm going to go into more of that. But I use those terms kind of interchangeably because our shadow, our darkness, is a gift. Our darkness is what gives us depth. If you're looking at a piece of art and there's no shadow in the art, you're not going to get depth. You're not going to get that feeling of realisticness of that 3D aspect that comes when you add shadow. And that's true of our spiritual being. The darkness within us adds depth. It also brings us compassion because pretty much everyone on earth has or will face some sort of darkness in their life, whether that is grief, whether it's depression and anxiety and other mental health struggles, whether it's this darkness I'm going to talk about tonight that comes with transformation and that discomfort. And looking at darkness and understanding our darkness helps us recognize that it's active in other people, and it gives us compassion. So when we have an interaction and somebody is maybe not being kind to us, when we understand that that's coming out of their darkness, the same darkness that we have, it's a lot easier to have compassion for them. It's a lot easier to forgive them. And it's a lot easier to recognize that reflection of ourselves in them. I'm getting emotional already. So this is what happened last week. I almost said something about, if you watched last week, you got to see me cry. And 20 years ago, I would have crawled in a hole and never come out. So that is one thing that shows me how far I've come, because I'm no longer ashamed of that. And it's not anything to be ashamed of. And in fact, that's one of the ways that we move energy, and it's a great tool. All right. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about what I shared last week so that I can go into what happened to me afterwards, which is what led to tonight's practice. So I talked last week about how I was working to change a core belief. And my core belief was that, or is, it's still kind of in there, we're working with it, but that my value is not inherent. That my worth depends on the size of my body. That's my personal core belief. But I shared with you that I think all of us have a core belief about value, and that our value is conditional on something. And you can go back and watch that whole episode. I'm not going to go much into that. But I am going to talk about what happened after that episode, because I got pretty vulnerable. I talked about this core belief that I've been trying to change. And after the episode, in the next few days, things got dark for me. They got darker than they were. I had said I was struggling, and I got really dark. I got really into struggle. And I felt like all of these tools I have that I'm always talking about, I'm always telling you, use your tools, and listing all the tools we have, all these spiritual tools. I felt like they weren't working. My tools weren't working. And that's when we really get to that discomfort. And the interesting thing is that is what leads us to change. When we get to the end of the tools that we currently have, and we don't have any tools yet left, we don't have any tools left, and we don't have the tools that we maybe will have later to address that darkness and that discomfort, we get into a space of giving up, of apathy sometimes. Like, well, nothing's going to work. I guess I just give up. And not in a good way, not in a surrender way, because we're going to get to that. More in like a, I can't do this, I quit kind of way. And so this is actually the most important step in this shadow work, is when you get to the point where you're like, F this, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm over. I quit. Because that is our invitation to step fully into the discomfort, into the darkness, and really look at it and then ask for help. And that's what I ended up doing. I got really frustrated, and I felt like I was backsliding, and all this stuff was coming up. And so I went into a meditation where I went fully into my darkness, and then I asked for help, and then I got help. Whew. So I'm going to tell you what happened, and hopefully I'm going to be able to talk about it, because it was a very powerful experience, and we're going to go into that same space tonight. So that's partly why I'm going into so much detail about this. So I have these two female spirit guides. One of them is my higher self that I see kind of personified. And then the other one is this witchy woman who was something like a druid priestess. She was a powerful woman, a powerful healer back someday, way, way long ago. And they had been bothering me for a while, and I finally got frustrated, and I sent them off to my healing cave. I was like, all right, go on to there. You're making me angry. I don't want to deal with this right now. I'm going to hang out with my musical spirit guide and write some music. And I did. And I think I needed that break. I needed to prepare myself for what was coming. So I sent them away kind of angrily, not necessarily with a lot of love, like, just go. And maybe I'll be there, maybe I won't. That's kind of how it went. And so when I got to this place where I was at the end of my tools, I didn't know what to do next. I was like, okay, I'm going to come into this healing cave with you, and I need your help. I can't do this myself. I don't know what to do next. And so the first part of this was just stepping into this darkness. And I call it the healing cave because this is where our transformation occurs. But it's very scary because when you first come into this space, it's pitch black. And I usually tell you in these meditations, do what you want with the visualization. But tonight, I really want you to stick with the cave because this is an underground space. It's a dark space. But when you get in there and you start really looking around, it's a beautiful space. When you first get in there, if you've ever read anything or watched any movies about caves, the darkness in a cave is absolute. There's literally no light in a cave. There's no sunlight coming in when you get deep enough. And just thinking about that makes me kind of claustrophobic, like physically I'm already kind of claustrophobic. So physically being in absolute darkness where you can't see your hand in front of your face, it's very scary. And that's why we go in there and we ask for help in whatever way that presents for us, whether it's a spirit guide or intuition We're going to talk a little bit about what you see when your eyes start to adjust to the light. But let me finish my story about this meditation, about this spiritual experience that I had. So I went into my cave with my 2 spirit guides, and I laid down on the ground, and I was just like, well, I don't know. I can't do this. I need help. That's when I asked for help. And there's something about asking for help in that desperate place. And I've talked about it before. That's what happened to me when I talk about the experience I had that led me to write my book. I was in absolute darkness at that point, probably the darkest place I've ever been in my life. So when you're in that darkness and you really ask for help from a very deep spiritual place, you surrender and you ask for help, that's when this transformation can really finally occur. So I was laying there in my cave and I started to see myself as a snake. And I started to see that I was trying to shed my skin. I had this old skin and it was uncomfortable. It didn't fit me anymore, but it was kind of stuck. And very interestingly, it was stuck specifically to my back. And I talk in my book a lot about the back body. It's one of the words that I use for this shadow or darkness, because in the physical body, in the energetic aspect of the physical body, the things that we can't look at, first we shove them down a lot of times and they dump into the pelvis, but they don't stay there. They keep coming back up. So as they come back up and we're shoving down and we're shoving down, we're shoving down, we also shove back. So something might come up from a trauma and you're like, no. And you shove it back behind you. And that's one of the reasons why we carry so much tension in our backs, in the back part of our body, in our gluteal muscles, in our legs, because we shove all that stuff behind us because we're not ready to look at it or we don't want to look at it. So in this meditation, I could feel that this skin was still stuck to my back. It was just not sloughing off the way that I wanted it to, the way that it would do if it was easy, if this wasn't a difficult transformation. And I started to see what it would look like when that skin was finally off me and I had beautiful, fresh, new scales. I guess that's what snakes have. And I could be vibrantly colorful again, and I could move smoothly because I had this fresh skin. And I saw, my spirit guide showed me that when I was ready for that, we were going to have a drumming ceremony to welcome my new skin, to ceremonially release this old skin and welcome my new skin. But in the meditation, I was still kind of stuck, and they were brushing my back and actually physically, energetically working on me in this space. But it gave me hope. It allowed me to see beyond the darkness. We can't see beyond the darkness until we go into it. And it's uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable. But that's part of this spiritual path. That's part of transformation. We can't make progress in our lives, especially when we're releasing something like a core belief. This is, and I talked about it last week, this is the inherent belief, one of these beliefs you've held since childhood, maybe even before that comes through ancestral and generational trauma. And it's fear-based, and it feels like part of who you are. So it's very difficult to do this work, but the reward for making it through this transformation and shedding that skin and coming into the new, beautiful, vibrant skin that's waiting for you on the other side is so worth it. So transformation, it's messy and it's painful. It requires stepping fully into our darkness and our discomfort. But asking for help is key. And this comes in many forms. Asking for help from another person, in whatever form that is, whether it's a friend or a professional. asking for help internally from your own spiritual guides and your higher self, and ultimately asking for help from that divine, from that power that's greater than ourselves, and surrendering to the wisdom that comes when we reach the end of our rope, when we reach the end of our knowledge, when we reach the end of our current tools, and we say, I need help. All right. Oh, I made it all the way through that. Now I'm crying. Okay. And see, I'm doing my thing again. I'm doing my shaky thing, shaking off that energy. So tonight in the meditation, we are going to visit our healing cave. We're going to go to our energetic sanctuary, to our planet. And I encourage you again, let this be a cave. It's important that this is a cave, that there's darkness in this cave. But we're going to explore the cave gently and together so it's less scary. And when you get into the cave, this is what you'll notice. This is what happened to me. Your eyes start to adjust. Maybe your guides have built you the tiniest little fire, or there's embers and there's a little bit of light. And you start to look around and you see beautiful crystalline formations, mineral formations, colors. Maybe you hear water in the distance and there's an underground river in your cave of healing. Darkness is not bad. It's not a bad thing. It's a scary thing, but it's not a bad thing. It's an integral part of our healing process. And without darkness, we don't have light. Without going fully into this darkness, we're never going to make it back into that joyful light that everyone is so happy to talk about. But it's important to recognize the value in darkness, the value in our shadow self. All right, let's start on our meditation. Close your eyes, get comfortable in whatever form that presents. If you'd like to lay down, I usually say don't lie down for these, but this might be a meditation that feels more comfortable lying down. You might feel safer if more of your body is contacting the earth, and that's completely fine. Be gentle with yourself. Step out of this if you need to. As we talked about a few weeks ago, if you need to get up and move around, you can always come back to this because it will be available to you in multiple formats. Take 2 or 3 deep oxytocin breaths, breathing in through your nose and sighing them out. Allow that beautiful crown chakra to open, that area at the top of your head. And ask for help. Ask for help and guidance from your spirit guides, from the divine, to flow into the top of your head and into your neck and throat and into your shoulders. Allow this wisdom to flow into your arms and your hands. Let this help and guidance flow into your chest and your upper back. Let it come into your abdomen and your mid-back, your low back and your low belly. Let this divine assistance flow into your hips and into your pelvis. Really let this energy come into your body here. Allow it to flow down your legs, through the thighs and into your knees. Take a nice big breath here into the knees if you'd like. And as you breathe out, allow this assistance, this guidance to flow into the knees and the lower legs. Letting it come all the way to the ankles and the feet. And let yourself feel connected to the earth here, whatever part of your body is contacting the ground. Let it feel heavy on the earth. Feel how supportive the earth is here, the dark, fertile energy of the earth, darkness, bringing creation, bringing life. We're going to stay fully in the body tonight so you can draw your sanctuary to you, draw your planet to you, draw your energetic sanctuary to you. If you're not familiar with this process, then just picture yourself in the safest and most beautiful place you can imagine, and that is your energetic sanctuary. And this sanctuary is vast. It's like having an entire planet to yourself with all sorts of resources for you to use. And one of the resources on your planet, in your sanctuary, is your healing cave. So make your way to your cave now. Just stand at the entrance. Notice what it looks like. Maybe the entrance is somewhat buried. Maybe it's in the side of a cliff or in a mountain. Let yourself see what your cave looks like here. And let yourself feel, as you always do in your energetic sanctuary, that you are completely safe and protected. Absolutely nothing can hurt you here. Everything that happens in this place is to serve you and your growth and your spiritual nature. So recognize that even if stepping into this cave is scary, this is a cave for healing. This is a cave for transformation. And all you need to do today is step in here and look around. That's as far as you need to go with this practice. So as you're ready, let yourself walk into the cave or climb down into your cave. And notice that even though it's dark in here, you don't need light. This is your space. You know exactly where to go. This is not like being in a physical cave where you need some sort of light or you'd have to feel your way around. Energetically, you're drawn to the most healing point in your cave that you're going to explore tonight. So let yourself just be there. And then take a breath or two in this space. Notice if you're feeling emotional in any way, and as usual, that's okay. Just breathe through it. Maybe you feel some fear. Maybe you feel comfort here. Maybe you feel nothing, and that's all okay. Just notice. And as you begin to come fully into this space to feel somewhat more comfortable or less uncomfortable, let yourself look around and notice that even in the darkness here, you can see something. You can see some rock formations or some crystals. You can see some colors. Perhaps you hear a river or some underground water in the distance or the gentle dripping. Perhaps you feel a cool breeze on your face. Perhaps you hear the wind singing your name and telling you that this is a safe space, a healing space. And as you're ready, invite your guidance to come into this space in whatever form that takes. If it comes as a guide, That could be in the form of a person or an animal or even an object. It could come in the form of words or feelings or just a knowingness. There's no right way to receive guidance, and everyone is a little bit different. So ask for help and then surrender to that help and see what happens. See who or what shows up for you. And as usual, if nothing comes, that's fine. You're exploring your cave. You can go back to looking around. You can travel a little bit deeper if you're not receiving information tonight or you're not comfortable with this part of the meditation. Just go back to some exploration. But if your guidance is coming to you, then listen to what it has to say. Is there something in the darkness it's time for you to look at? Something you're ready to see? Is there a transformation waiting for you? Are you already in that transformation and you're ready to start looking at what happens on the other side of it? Just let this come to you effortlessly. And let yourself remember how safe you are, that this is a healing space, that nothing bad can happen to you here. Maybe you're hearing music or drumming, in my case. Maybe you're still exploring. Just give yourself a few moments here to let this unfold as intuition guides you. And you can always ask for help again. And let it come from deep within you. Let it come from the bottom of your pelvis here, from your low belly. Please help me. I'm ready for help. Allow yourself to stay with this for a few more moments. Let yourself finish up whatever has been unfolding for you. If you're still in exploration, come back out to the mouth of your cave. If you're sitting in guidance, let that slowly come to an end, knowing that you can come back here at any time. And that any information you received tonight is for your highest good. It doesn't need to be acted on immediately. but allow yourself the gift of recognizing that visiting this darkness, that befriending this darkness, this shadow, will deepen your relationship with yourself and with the divine. It will deepen your vibration and allow you to become more fully present and grounded in this physical life, this gift that we have received here on this planet in this moment. As you're ready, step out of your cave and back into your sanctuary, remembering that we've never left the body tonight. You can keep your sanctuary with you in your physical space, or allow it to gently float back into the spiritual body where it usually lives. Put your hands on your heart if you like, and take 2 or 3 deep breaths and let them out with a big sigh. Release anything that came up for you tonight that's ready to be released, that's ready to be recycled. Shed whatever skin you're ready to shed in this moment. And as you're ready, you can allow that crown chakra to gently close, or allow it to remain open for your highest good. And briefly invite that divine joy and bliss, that golden light of spirit, to come into your body and join with this delicious darkness. Let this light and darkness merge, recognizing that they absolutely exist in the same space. Allow this light to come in through your head and your neck. Let it come down into your arms and hands and into your torso. Let this divine light come into your hips and your pelvis, into your thighs and knees. Allow this light to flow all the way down your lower legs into your ankles and feet. And pause for just a moment to notice the beautiful interplay here of light and dark, the dance that exists in this duality, in this physical world. Recognize the beauty that's here, even in pain. There is beauty if we let it flow, if we allow ourselves to continue to grow and transform. We can release pain and keep moving forward. As you're ready, you can wiggle your toes a little bit, maybe roll your ankles around, wiggle your fingers and roll your wrists. Move your head and neck a little bit if you need to shake off some energy. And as you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining me in this journey tonight and every week. It is a blessing for me to share my spiritual practice with you and to show you that walking this path is not just about light and skipping through the tulips. Sometimes it's about getting down in the dirt and shedding your snakeskin. And that's all part of the process and the transformation and the beauty of this. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Be gentle with yourself. and enjoy the rest of your evening, the rest of your week. And I will see you next week for Wind Down Wednesday.